After 25 years of marriage, I discovered she slept with another man 3 months after our wedding. When confronted, she said, "That was so long ago, why ruin everything now?" I silently packed a bag and left. 2 weeks later, she was explaining to our kids why dad didn't come home. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. What's up, Reddit? Never thought I'd be posting here, but life hits different sometimes. I am a 56-year-old man, own my own construction company that I built from the ground up. Got a crew of 15 guys, been in business for almost 30 years. Got 3 kids with my wife Diana. Well, soon to be ex-wife. I raised a family, thought I understood loyalty. Turns out I don't even understand my own damn house. Let me tell you more. So here's how shit went down. About a month ago, I got this random call from some dude named Trevor while I was at a job site supervising a foundation pour. My phone buzzes with an unknown number, and normally I'd let that go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. Mike, you don't know me, but I need to talk to you about something important. I'm thinking it's some scam or someone trying to sell me something. I'm standing there with concrete trucks idling, guys waiting on my signal, and this random voice is in my ear. Look, buddy, I'm in the middle of something. Make it quick or call back. Then he drops it. It's about Diana and Caleb Stevens. I've been carrying this for too long, man. Caleb Stevens. Name sounded familiar. Pretty sure Diana mentioned him once or twice as an old friend from her college days. Nothing that raised any flags before. I walked away from my crew, told my foreman to take over. Found a quiet corner of the site. I'm listening. Trevor tells me that back when Diana was pregnant with our middle kid Tyler, she had a thing with this Caleb guy. Like a serious thing. Not just a one-time mistake. Said it went on for months. Look, man, I wouldn't be calling if I wasn't sure. I saw them together multiple times. Back then, I didn't know she was married. When I found out years later, I felt sick about it, but I figured it was in the past. I asked him why now, after all these years. I ran into Caleb last month at this tech conference in San Diego. We got talking about old times, and he brought up Diana. The way he talked about her, it wasn't like she was just some fling. He still thinks about her. Said something about how, if things had been different, they might have ended up together. My knuckles went white gripping the phone. But here's why I'm calling now, Trevor continued, his voice dropping lower. He mentioned Tyler, said something about how he sometimes wonders. Man, the way he said it, I couldn't keep quiet anymore. The implication hit me like a sledgehammer. Was Tyler even my kid? 23 years of birthdays, graduations, teaching him to drive, paying for his college. Was I raising another man's son this whole time? My first instinct was to tell this dude to FK off. Diana and I had been married 25 years. We built a life, a family, a business. No way she'd hide something that big for so long. But something in my gut told me to dig deeper. I got Trevor's contact info and hung up, stared at the concrete being poured without really seeing it. One of my guys came over, asked if everything was okay. I just nodded, put my hard hat back on, and went through the motions of finishing the day. I didn't confront Diana right away. That's not how I handle business. And this was the biggest deal of my life. Instead, I started paying attention, looking for clues. Diana keeps all her old stuff in these plastic bins in the attic. Photo albums, yearbooks, cards, journals. Stuff I never paid much attention to before. While she was at her weekly book club, I went digging. 3 dusty bins later, I found a small leather journal. Dates matched up to when she was pregnant with Tyler. Most entries were normal pregnancy stuff. How she was feeling. Worrying about being a good mom to 2 kids. Doctor visits. Then I found the entries about Caleb. Saw C again today. He makes me feel alive in ways Mike doesn't anymore. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop thinking about him. C says he'd raise the baby as his own if I left. Sometimes I think about it. A fresh start. But what about Jake? I can't take him away from his father. Another fight with Mike about the nursery color. He doesn't understand me like C does. Met C at the lake house again. 3 whole days while Mike's at that job site in Denver. Let me tell you, reading your wife's words about considering leaving you while carrying what you thought was your child, that shit hits different. My hands were shaking by the time I put the journal down. I was in the attic putting everything back when I heard the stairs creak. Diana stood there with this confused look. Mike, what are you doing up here? I held up a random photo album. Just looking for those pictures from when we built the deck at the old house. Client wants something similar. Oh, find them? Nah, probably in another box. I'll look later. She seemed to buy it. I played it cool. Went back to normal life for a few days while my mind was spinning with what I'd learned. But I needed more. I needed to know if Tyler was actually my son. I ordered one of those DNA test kits online. When it arrived, I told Diana it was for a health screening thing my doctor recommended for men my age. She didn't question it. I swabbed my cheek, got Tyler to do his by telling him the company was offering a family discount, and sent them off. While waiting for those results, I did some digging on this Caleb guy. Turns out he's some hotshot tech executive now. Found his LinkedIn, his company bio, even some interviews he'd done for business magazines. Successful dude. Handsome. The kind of guy that probably made Diana's heart race back then. Maybe still does. I kept digging, probably to find something that tells me I'm dreaming, and I have to wake up, but I found something else. This Caleb guy lives less than 30 miles from us now. Moved to the area about 5 years ago, according to his LinkedIn. All this time, he's been right in our backyard, and Diana never mentioned it. Another lie by omission. I needed to confirm this wasn't just Diana writing fantasy bullshit in her journal. So I called our oldest son, Jake. He's 28 now, works as an engineer in Seattle. We got to talking about random stuff. Then I casually brought up Caleb. Hey, remember Mom's friend Caleb? Guy used to come around sometimes when you were a kid? The silence on the other end told me everything. Dad, what's this about? Just answer the question, Jake. More silence. Then, yeah, I remember him. Who was he to your mom? Another long pause. Dad, I was just a kid. Cut the bullshit, Jake. You know something. He sighed. Look, I saw them once. I was like 9 or 10. They didn't see me. They were, close. Kissing and stuff in her car. Mom saw me later and made me promise never to tell you. Said it would break up our family, and it was just a mistake she made when she was confused. My own son. My freaking son knew for almost 20 years and never said a word. So you've been lying to me your entire adult life? Dad, I was protecting our family. I was a kid. And later, I don't know, it seemed like it was in the past. You guys were happy. Why dig it up? Because the truth matters, Jake. Because I had a right to know who I was really married to. He got defensive then. Well, now you know. What are you gonna do? Throw away 25 years over something that happened back when Tyler wasn't even born yet? Grow up, Dad. Grow up. My 28-year-old son who lived under my roof, ate food I provided, went to college on my dime, was telling me to grow up because I wasn't cool with my wife stepping out while pregnant with my child? I hung up. Needed to think. A few days later, I found out Jake had called Diana, warned her I was asking questions. They thought I didn't know, but Lauren, my youngest, overheard Jake and Diana talking and let it slip when we were having lunch. Dad, is everything okay with you and Mom? I heard her on the phone with Jake yesterday, and she seemed upset. Something about you asking questions? Lauren's always been different from her brothers. More like me. Straightforward, honest to a fault. Your mom and I are working through some stuff, Lauren. Nothing for you to worry about. She gave me that look she's had since she was little. The one that says she knows I'm not telling the whole truth but won't push. Okay, Dad, but I'm here if you need to talk. I nodded, grateful for at least one kid who seemed to have my back. The next day, the DNA results came in. I opened the email in my truck, parked outside a job site. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely click the link. The results loaded. Tyler was my biological son. 99.9% match. I should have felt relief. Instead, I just felt empty. The fact that Diana hadn't gotten pregnant by Caleb when something else was bothering me. If Jake knew about the affair, who else did? How many people had been laughing behind my back all these years? That night, I couldn't sleep. Diana's journal entries kept replaying in my mind, specifically the one about meeting Caleb at the lake house. We didn't own a lake house back then. Neither did any of our friends that I could remember. I got up around 3 a.m., made some coffee, and sat at my desk in the home office. Started going through old bank statements, property tax records, anything that might give me a clue about this mysterious lake house. Nothing. I Googled Caleb again, dug deeper into property records. Bingo. His family owned a cabin at Lake Evergreen, about 2 hours from our place. Had owned it since he was a kid, apparently. And then I remembered something else. About 6 years ago, Diana had pushed hard for us to buy a vacation property. Said she'd always dreamed of having a place at a lake. We ended up purchasing a piece of land at Lake Evergreen. Undeveloped, but with plans to build someday. At the time, I thought it was just a good investment. Now I wondered if she'd pushed for that location because of its connection to Caleb. Next morning, I drove out to our lake property. I hadn't been there in months, too busy with work. It was a beautiful piece of land. Waterfront. Trees. The kind of place I'd always imagined building a cabin where the grandkids could come visit someday. While I'm standing there, a guy approached from the neighboring property. Older dude, probably in his 70s. You the owner? He called out. I nodded. Bill, he said, extending his hand. Been wondering when I'd meet you. Your wife comes out here sometimes. That caught me off guard. My wife? Diana? Yep, pretty lady. Brunette. Comes with that friend of hers sometimes. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. Friend? Yeah, tall guy. They seemed close. Thought maybe he was your business partner or something. I managed to keep my voice steady. When's the last time you saw them? Bill thought for a moment. Couple weeks ago? They were checking out the property line. Said something about building plans? Building plans? Diana and I hadn't discussed building in years. The project had been put on hold after Lauren's medical bills 3 years ago when she needed knee surgery after a soccer injury. I drove back to the city in a fog, pieces clicking together. Diana wasn't just meeting Caleb in the past. They were still in contact, still meeting, and apparently making plans for my property. I decided not to confront Diana right away. That's not how I handle business deals, and this was the biggest one of my life. I needed time to get my shit together, gather financial records, collect evidence, formulate a solid game plan. For a week, I put on the performance of my life, got up at the same time each morning, kissed her goodbye like always, went to work, came home, watched our usual shows, even kept making my terrible dad jokes that somehow still made her laugh after all these years. She was completely unaware that behind my normal expression, I was mentally cataloging everything I knew and planning my next moves. It was strange, really. Going through the motions of a normal marriage while knowing it was all built on lies. Sitting across from her at dinner, watching her talk about her day, I'd catch myself almost forgetting why I was angry. 25 years together. That's a lifetime of memories, good and bad. Part of me wondered if I should just let sleeping dogs lie. Was I really ready to blow up everything we'd built over something that happened decades ago? Then I'd remember those journal entries, the way she wrote about him, the decisions she almost made, the fact that my own son knew and said nothing. And I'd go back and forth in my head like some kind of mental ping pong match. 1 minute thinking, maybe we can work through this. And the next minute, how can I ever trust her again? Every normal moment felt surreal, like I was living in some parallel universe where nothing was what it seemed, where the Diana I thought I knew and the Diana who wrote those journal entries were somehow the same person, where my son could look me in the eye all these years knowing what he knew. Truth is, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. Confront her, try to forget, or something in between. I just knew I couldn't keep pretending forever. But I was meeting with my lawyer at that time anyway. It was like my gut was guiding me what to do, although my mind was racing. I secured copies of financial records, set up a separate bank account, put away cash. I called my buddy Stu, known him since high school. Dude's been divorced twice, so he knows the drill. Hey Mike, what's up, man? Haven't heard from you in a minute. When I told him what was going on, he was quiet for a second. Shit, brother. That's heavy. Need a place to crash when you drop the bomb? Stu's got this badass lake house about an hour out of town. Workshop in the back stocked better than Home Depot. Been trying to get me out there to help him build a dock for years. Might take you up on that. Do it, man. We'll build shit, fish, get our heads straight. Plus, I got this new table saw that'll make you cream your pants. That made me laugh for the first time in weeks. Thanks, man. Don't thank me. Just bring those smoked ribs when you come. Your recipe, not that store-bought garbage. Stu's a good dude. While all this was happening, I noticed Diana acting differently, more attentive, planning date nights. Looking back, I think Jake's warning had put her on alert. She was trying to smooth things over, make me forget whatever suspicions I had. It almost worked. There were moments when I looked at her across the dinner table, laughing at something Lauren said, and I almost convinced myself to let it all go. The way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled. Same way they did when we first met. The familiar way she'd touch my arm when making a point. 25 years of history, of building something together, of raising kids and weathering storms. Maybe the past should stay in the past. Maybe some truths aren't worth the damage they cause. I actually found myself rehearsing the conversation in my head. Look, Diana, I know about Caleb. I know what happened all those years ago, but we've built a life together, and that means something to me. Maybe we can work through this. Pathetic, right? But that's where my head was at, teetering on the edge, not sure which way to fall. Then my phone buzzed during a meeting with a client. Banking alert. Unusual activity detected. I excused myself, stepped outside to check it. Diana had tried to transfer $75,000 from my 401k into her personal account. Not a small amount, not pocket change. $75,000 of retirement savings I'd been building for decades. While I was considering forgiveness, she was raiding our future. When I confronted her later, she had the nerve to claim it was for Tyler's graduate school. Said she was going to tell me about it, but wanted to have everything set up first. Funny how she never mentioned it before trying to move that kind of cash. Funny how she needed it in her personal account rather than paying the school directly. Funny how it happened right when Jake might have tipped her off that I was asking questions. That was it. The final straw. In that moment, any doubts I had evaporated. The decision made itself. So the next morning, while Diana was at yoga, I packed up what I needed. Tools, clothes, important documents, loaded up my truck and headed to Stu's place. Sent Diana a text. Going fishing with Stu for a few days. Need to clear my head. She replied, everything okay? Yeah, just need some guy time. At Stu's lake house, I finally let myself process everything. We sat on his deck, waters in hand, looking out at the lake. So what's the plan, Mike? You gonna try to work it out? I took a swig. Nope, I'm done. 25 years of lies is 25 years too many. Good man. No going back from that shit. The part that gets me isn't even the cheating. It's that my own son knew and said nothing. And when I asked him about it, he basically told me to get over it. Stu shook his head. Messed up, man. Kids today, I swear. Not all of them. My youngest, Lauren, she's good. Called her yesterday, told her I was staying here for a bit, working through some stuff with her mom. She just said, whatever you need, Dad. I'm here for you. Didn't even press for details. That's a good kid. Yeah. We spent the next few days working on his dock, fishing, and planning my next moves. Diana kept calling and texting, getting more desperate each day. I kept it brief, said I needed space. Then my lawyer called, said that Diana had tried to empty another account. Luckily, I'd already moved most of the money. The kids started calling too. Jake and Tyler both giving me the same bullshit about it was so long ago, and Mom's really upset, and you're overreacting. Lauren just asked if I was okay. Said she loved me no matter what. After a week of these calls and hiding out at Stu's place, I knew I couldn't keep avoiding the inevitable. It was time to face Diana. Not to reconcile. That ship had sailed the moment I saw that transfer alert. But to let her know I knew everything. All of it. And that I wasn't going to roll over and play dead while she rewrote our history. I got up early that day. Hit the gym first. Needed to burn off some energy before the confrontation. Benched more than I had in years. Something about righteous anger makes you stronger, I guess. I showered at the gym, put on a crisp button-down and my good jeans. Looking good matters when you're about to change your life. Shows you've got control. I drove back to the house mid-morning, knowing she'd be home. Our street looked different somehow. Same houses, same trees, but I was seeing it through new eyes. The eyes of a man who was done being played. She met me at the door, all teary-eyed and relieved. Mike, I've been so worried. Are you okay? Can we talk? I walked past her, sat down at the kitchen table. Yeah, let's talk. She sat across from me, reached for my hand. I pulled back. I know about Caleb, Diana. I found your journal. I know what happened while you were pregnant with Tyler. The color drained from her face. Mike, Save it. I've talked to Jake. I know he caught you. I know you swore him to secrecy. I know everything. She tried to recover. That was over 20 years ago. It was nothing. It's exactly what I think it was. You've been lying to me for decades, and now you're raiding our accounts, taking money we saved together. That was for Tyler's school. I told you. No, you didn't tell me. You tried to take it without telling me. There's a difference. She started crying then. Not the quiet, dignified tears of someone caught in a mistake. These were manipulative sobs, designed to make me feel like the bad guy. I love you, Mike. It was just a mistake, a moment of weakness. We can work through this. I stared at her. This woman I'd shared a bed with for 25 years, had 3 kids with, built a life with, and I felt nothing. No, we can't. I want a divorce. Her tears stopped immediately. Her face hardened. You'll regret this. I gave you my best years. And I gave you everything else. A home, a family, financial security, and you threw it away for what? Some guy who sweet-talked you in college? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Diana? Enlighten me. She stood up, paced around the kitchen. You don't understand. You were always working, building your precious company. Caleb actually listened to me, made me feel special. And that justifies lying to me for our entire marriage? I was going to tell you. But then I got pregnant with Tyler, and the timing was never right. I laughed bitterly. 23 years of not the right timing, huh? And what about Jake? Making our son keep your secret all these years? She flinched. That was complicated. Complicated how? You corrupted our son, made him complicit in your lies. He was just a child. I told him it would destroy our family if you found out. I was protecting him. Protecting him? Or protecting yourself? I shook my head in disgust. And the money? $75,000, Diana. Were you protecting someone there too? She collapsed back into the chair, defeated. I panicked, okay? Jake told me you were asking questions. I thought maybe I should secure some funds, just in case. The audacity of it hit me like a truck. Not just the affair, not just the decades of lies, but the calculated way she tried to protect herself financially when she thought I was onto her. Well, that's not happening. I want you out of this house by the end of the month. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce. I stood up to leave, paused at the door. One more thing. I know Jake knew about the affair. All these years. Did Tyler know too? She shook her head. Number only Jake. And Lauren? Of course not. She was born years later. At least there was that. My baby girl hadn't been part of the conspiracy. I walked out of the house we'd shared for decades, feeling strangely light, like I'd set down a weight I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. But this was just the beginning. The personal confrontation was one thing. The public reckoning would be another. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with another text from Diana about her sister Susan's upcoming 60th birthday party. Big family gathering planned at their place in 2 weeks. Everyone would be there. Diana's parents, her siblings, our kids, some cousins, the whole extended family that had been part of my life for nearly 3 decades. Diana had been texting me about it for days, even before our confrontation. Now the messages took on a desperate tone, begging me to come, saying we could talk things through after. Like this was just some minor disagreement that could be patched up over cake and presents. Perfect timing, actually. If there was going to be a clean break, might as well make it clean for everyone. I spent the 2 weeks preparing, had 3 meetings with my lawyer, making sure every document was airtight, got a haircut, bought a new suit, charcoal gray, modern cut that made my shoulders look broader. When you're about to detonate your life, you might as well look good doing it. The night before Susan's party, I couldn't sleep. Kept going over my plan in my head. I wasn't nervous, more like a sniper checking his gear before taking the shot. Everything had to be precise. I had my lawyer draw up the divorce papers, just a straightforward split. I wasn't looking to screw her over financially, just wanted out clean. But I did make sure to include evidence of her trying to raid my retirement accounts. And I updated my will. Lauren would get my share of the business and the lake property I bought years ago. Jake and Tyler would get $1 each. Legally, you can't completely cut kids out without them contesting, so $1 it is. Day of the party, I showed up like nothing was wrong. Gave Susan a birthday hug. Chatted with Diana's dad about the Broncos' chances this season. Diana kept giving me these hopeful looks, probably thinking I was there to reconcile. Dinner was served. Everyone sitting around the big table in Susan's backyard. Diana's mom asked me to say grace. Always did that at family gatherings. Actually, I said, standing up, I have something I need to share with everyone first. The table got quiet. Diana and I are getting divorced. Gasps all around. Diana went white. Mike, what are you? I pulled out the envelope from my jacket. These are divorce papers. You'll find everything in order. Your attempt to transfer my retirement funds is documented, so I wouldn't contest if I were you. I placed the envelope in front of her. Deliberate. You slept with Caleb Stevens while pregnant with Tyler. Jake knew about it for 20 years and said nothing. Both of them told me I should just get over it when I found out. Diana's sister gasped. Her parents looked shocked. And there's more, I continued, feeling eerily calm. Diana and Caleb have been seeing each other again recently, planning to build a house together on our lake property once both their divorces go through. Diana's father, who'd always liked me, looked at his daughter in disgust. Is this true, Diana? She couldn't even answer, just sobbed into her napkin. Oh, and one more thing, I said, turning to Jake and Tyler, who sat frozen at the table. I've updated my will. Lauren will inherit my share of the business and the lake property. You two get $1 each. Consider it payment for your silence. Dad, that's not fair, Tyler protested. Life's not fair, son, but actions have consequences. I turned to leave, then stopped and looked at Lauren, who sat there wide-eyed. Lauren, I'll be at Stu's if you want to talk. The rest of you, have a nice life. I walked out, got in my truck, and drove away. Didn't look back once. 3 days after the family dinner bomb, I was at Stu's place working on his deck when a sleek BMW pulled up. The car screamed money, custom rims, perfect shine, the works. A tall guy in an expensive suit stepped out, designer sunglasses hiding his eyes. Had to be Caleb. Before you start wondering how did Caleb knew all about it. Later, I found out Jake had called him right after the family dinner meltdown, panicking about what I'd revealed. Apparently, Diana had been in regular contact with Caleb over the years, and Jake had his number. My son had actually reached out to the man who'd had an affair with his mother, thinking he might somehow help smooth things over. Instead, it had triggered something unexpected in Caleb, some kind of guilt or realization about the role he'd played in all this. My hand tightened around the hammer I was holding. Part of me wanted to introduce some American-made steel to his pretty face, but I kept my cool. Stu tensed up beside me, also gripping his hammer a little tighter, ready to back me up if things went south. I handed my tools to Stu and walked over to meet the man who'd had an affair with my wife all those years ago. Even through the anger, I had to admit the guy looked like success. Expensive suit, confident stride, the kind of man who probably had a personal trainer and drank protein shakes for breakfast. The conversation was brief but explosive. He hadn't come to apologize or explain away what happened with Diana. Instead, he handed me a folder filled with bank statements and financial records. Documents showing Diana had been systematically embezzling from my company for years. Small amounts that added up to over $500,000. Even more disturbing was learning she'd been particularly active during Lauren's surgery period, when our family was most vulnerable. Most shocking was the revelation about Trevor, the guy who'd originally called me. Turned out Diana had been paying him monthly hush money for years to keep quiet about the affair. The man had finally grown a conscience and decided the truth was worth more than her payments. Caleb left as quickly as he'd arrived, but the folder he delivered changed everything. The betrayal was deeper, more calculated, and more recent than I'd imagined. This wasn't just about an affair from decades ago. This was about ongoing deception and financial theft that had damaged my business, my family, and my future. Stu found me sitting on the half-finished deck, staring at the financial documents with a mix of rage and disbelief. He didn't say anything, just handed me a cold drink and sat beside me in silence. That's what real friendship looks like, knowing when words won't help. Then with Caleb's intel, I took everything to my accountant, the same tough-as-nails woman who's managed my books for 15 years. She told me to give her 48 hours. 36 hours later, she had me back in her office after hours, papers spread across her desk. She showed me the transactions and confirmed it was even worse than I thought, pointing out patterns I hadn't seen. Sure enough, with the account numbers as a starting point, she found years of discrepancies. Diana had been embezzling from my company for years, using her position as occasional office manager to authorize small transfers that added up over time. Even more disturbing, the embezzlement had accelerated during major life events. When Lauren had her surgery, when we were planning Tyler's college tuition, when we were supposed to be saving for retirement, my lawyer was ecstatic. This changed everything for the divorce proceedings. What had started as a straightforward split was now looking like Diana might end up owing me money. Diana, of course, denied everything at first, then tried to blame it on a bookkeeping error, then finally admitted it, but claimed I had emotionally abandoned her, and she deserved compensation. The judge didn't see it that way, and so the divorce was finalized faster than expected. Diana got almost nothing. The embezzlement charges were going to be a separate legal battle, one that would likely end with her having a criminal record. Jake and Tyler finally realized they'd backed the wrong horse. Started calling, texting, trying to make amends. I wasn't having it. Told them both I needed time and space. Maybe someday we'd rebuild a relationship, but not anytime soon. While Lauren was my rock through it all. She postponed her plans to study abroad so she could be closer to home during this mess. I told her not to, that I'd be fine, but secretly I was grateful for her presence. And yeah, it's been 2 months since everything went down, and life's actually looking up. Bought out Diana's share of the house with what little she had left after the embezzlement came to light, and Stu's crashed here while his place gets renovated. Good having a buddy around to shoot the shit with after all this drama. The business is absolutely crushing it these days. Turns out when someone isn't secretly siphoning cash from your accounts, the bottom line looks a whole lot healthier. The lake property is coming along nicely, not building some tiny cabin either, but going all out with 5 bedrooms, a massive workshop, and a proper boat dock. The foundation's poured, frames up, and roof's going on next week. I'm handling a lot of the finish work myself because there's something weirdly therapeutic about building something real with your own hands. Lauren calls almost daily just to check in and is planning to join the family business after graduating this semester. That kid's got my work ethic and her own vision. Couldn't be prouder. Started hanging with this crew of guys who mountain bike on weekends. Just middle-aged dudes like me with no drama, which is exactly what I need. Haven't heard from Diana in weeks, though her lawyer keeps sending increasingly desperate settlement offers that my attorney responds to with a simple no. Jake left a voicemail yesterday saying he wants to make things right, but I'm not ready for that conversation yet. But for the first time in decades, I'm focused on building my business, my home, and my life, and every brick is finally built on truth.